Hi, my name's Leighton Jin. I'm the Director of Development for the American Documentary and Animation and Animated Film Festival. We have two young filmmakers who have a very exciting piece. You Will Not Replace Us, correct? And we
Yes.
have Josh Greene and Luke Harris. They're both from USC. They were roommates at a dorm, and they came up with this idea for a film. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. Can you talk about the origins of this film and your relationship?
Yeah. So Luke and I met at USC Film School. We worked on a couple projects together there. And after graduating, we started talking about ideas for this movie, which we actually pitched as part of a short film competition at the Annapolis Film Festival in Maryland. And we won that pitch contest to receive a grant, which helped kickstart production for this movie.
That's great. And then and then can Luke, why don't you go and tell us a little bit on what this movie's about?
Yeah, this film is about the Black and Jewish relationship in America. Um, Josh and I, we when we started the project, we saw in the media, there was been conflict and talks about, what is the relationship between our two communities, and it kind of jump started of like, where do we stand right now, and where was our communities in the past, during the civil rights movement, and we wanted just to kind of tackle that kind of issue.
And either one of you, where do you think the issues are today? Because even I'm quite a bit older than both of you. Can you talk about what you guys learned about the past and where we are today? Are we in a good place? Are we still stuck in a couple stuck in the past? Where do you think we are with those relationships?
Yeah, so when we started developing this idea back in 2022, we were looking at, a lot of commentary, like Luke said, in the media, on social media, um, talking about how our communities were not seeing eye to eye. There were literal tensions occurring in um, Los Angeles, where we noticed um, white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups sort of trying to pin our communities against each other. One example of this is um, this group of far-right neo-Nazis putting up banners over Los Angeles freeways saying that, the Jews are controlling the black community and trying to start a race war, stuff like that. So that really got us thinking, hey, we need to talk with people in our communities and get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, and
Luke,
what we kind of learned through our research is that our two communities are really similar in a lot of ways. And we made this film as a way for us to bring both our two communities together to show that solidarity and unity for one another.
I don't know if you can answer this question, but why do you think they pick both your communities against each other? Because they've been doing that since I can remember, and I've never, me personally, maybe I don't know, I've never felt there was a basis for conflict between both of your communities. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think it has to do with, this ongoing issue of the replacement theory, which we talk about in the film has origins that go back all the way to the 19th century in this country, where people truly believe that um, there's this Jewish elite or like a Jewish master of control that is manipulating black and brown communities to try and replace white Christian Americans. And this is sort of manifested into, a lot of commentary we see today about the Great Replacement theory, about how, people like these neo-Nazi groups think that they're being replaced by minorities.
Yeah, and this is definitely connected to our title itself, "You Will Not Replace Us." The slogan that the white supremacists use is "Jews will not replace us." So we use this title as a way for both our communities to reclaim that statement, showing that in us working together, us, we will not, be replaced.
In your research, why do you think this has grown to be an issue again?
I think it has a lot to do with, just people's fear in this country of the other. Like people are afraid of communities that they don't know. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people, um, based on the media, based on politics in this country, are willing to blame other communities for their problems. And oftentimes throughout history, it's the Black community, it's the Jewish community that get targeted when there's something wrong in society. And so I think that's why, over the past few years, there's been, an uptick in hate crimes against these communities, and ultimately why we felt like we wanted to start a conversation and see how can we be there for each other.
It does seem like in the last few years, there's been a little bit of a scapegoat theory. For
Right.
instance, you know, not just your communities, but like 9/11, if you're Muslim, something will happen during the pandemic. You know, when they started saying Chinese flu, then you started seeing uptick of Asian hate crimes.
Exactly.
How much of that do you think plays into it? This culture of scapegoating communities, whether they uh, are part of the problem or not.
Well, I mean, that's a huge component. I think, um, it's society's way of always trying to look at, who is to blame for what is going wrong in the current moment.
Hmm.
Um, and, in the film, we talk about, even in popular culture, like there were, some of these neo Nazis holding banners on the freeway saying, honk if you believe Kanye West was right about the Jews. And that's that's something that we saw was, pulling the Black and Jewish communities apart because it's making these two communities point fingers at each other instead of, wait a second, it's these neo-Nazi groups that are actually trying to divide us.
And it does seem like when you create these conversations, it starts isolating communities. And I always feel like when you start isolating communities, that's when it manifests. I think when I'm out there in the public and I get to meet people and stuff like that, when I hear all the stuff, like some of the stuff that you talk about, quite honestly, when I hear it, I just think it's some of it is ridiculous that what the neo Nazis are claiming because uh, I've I've been able to move in a lot of communities, and I think I don't know, it just takes a real imagination and a lack of realities for that. I don't see that stuff happening, but obviously other people do. Um, can you talk about how you guys first met and your first impressions of each other at USC?
Yeah, Josh and I, we were yeah, in the same dorm. And yeah, we were on the cinema floor, which was, so good. And we were making films, and I think at the time initially, we're still trying to figure out what kind of stories we wanted to tell. Josh, I think Josh and I, we both kind of figure out our voice near our thesis projects, and knowing the kind of films we want to make that are very personal, and that also have really strong themes. So we had our own separate projects, and then right when we graduated, we kind of worked on this project together, which was just kind of perfect culmination, leading to this project here.
Yeah, my senior year, I directed Waves Apart, which was a documentary about Jewish surfers, and that screened at AmDocs 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and so Luke, worked on that project with me, and by that point, I felt like Luke and I both realized that we wanted to tell, stories about underrepresented communities that take a stand and that share, human stories that other people just aren't aware of. And so with this film, at the basis, we wanted it to be, a conversation starter. We wanted it to be a film that started conversations between our two communities and for the audience to walk away having something to consider.
So this is your first foray into these topics of racism, stuff like that. What kind of feels it for both of you to make this kind of your career path? Because obviously, as filmmakers, there's a lot of films you can do, but obviously, these first two films they deal specifically with race. Can you talk about how that's formed and how that shapes finding your voice?
Yeah, there it's just, really just personal projects and films that have not been made, that we wanted to see. This film in particular, Josh and I, we both come, wanting to make really, films that have been made, but also really entertaining and very engaging. Considers a documentary sometimes, initially it might feel slow, but we made sure to make this doc as engaging and very detailed, as possible. From the score, from the visuals. So that's something we're both really proud about, with this film and excited for people to see.
Yeah, one thing that makes this project unique is, Luke and I, we are in the film as first person narrators and first person protagonists. And so we go around in the movie, directly meeting with, leaders of the Black community, the Jewish community. Um, Probably one of our best interviews was we have a Black pastor and a Jewish rabbi together. They run the Black Jewish Justice Alliance. And so we get to
Wow.
hear about like the real work being done, um, sort of paralleling the civil rights movement, where you had Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Heschel, that kind of served as a bridge between the Black and Jewish communities. And by the end of the film too, we directly, I don't want to give anything away, but we directly respond to these neo-Nazi groups in a pretty bold stunt.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's quite the that's quite the teaser.
Yep.
Um, in civil rights, that was a time of also great art. And obviously we're going through similar times right now. Can you talk to me about filmmaking and art, how important it is today? Because obviously I don't know if you feel that I feel it that, there's a lot more conflict in this country today, similar to the 60s and the civil rights movement and all that. What are your thoughts about that and how art can play a part in hopefully calming tensions and informing people?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important because I think it's a really digestible way to, really to create empathy with one another. When watching a movie, or it's just easier to, to really be in someone's headspace and mind. And I think art is just so important for, us just to really understand that, there's these universal themes that transcend, race and just being different, and everyone kind of goes through it. So I think that our theme in our film of unity is, and even when, making this film, although we're talking about our two communities, this is a really universal project of, unity, between all different groups, and really be able to have tough conversations with one another. And that's really how you create change, with one another.
Yeah, I think one thing that really draws me to film is how it's a time capsule. And I like the idea that we can capture something, during our moment in history. But if we make it universal, like Luke said, then, hopefully the themes can stand the test of time where, 20, 30, 50 years from now, somebody can access it and they can watch and see, how has the world changed? What were people, realizing at that time? And I think that's something we can offer to the world.
And then a little bit lighter question. So, Josh, you were here at AmDocs 2 years ago. Was that correct?
Yes.
Can you share experiences of being here at AmDocs and what it was like?
Yeah, it was one of my first ever film festivals. I stayed at a kitschy, Palm Springs hotel. It was like tiki themed, I want to say.
Oh,
And
nice.
Palm Springs is such a great venue because, there's so many film lovers there, and the festival was really exciting because, they have a great, opening ceremony with lots of great films, and I got to go to the networking party where I met a bunch of really awesome filmmakers and film enthusiasts. So you can't ask for a better setting, a better documentary experience than a place like AmDocs.
Luke, were you able to come out here 2 years ago?
No, in fact, I haven't been in Palm Springs, so this will be my first time.
Oh, your first time in Palm Springs, huh?
Yeah.
Josh, where are you gonna show? What are you gonna show Luke about Palm Springs when you guys get out here?
Well, we're really into golf right now, so we might look to go do some golfing, and but of course, like the weather's great. It's such a good place to take in art because there's so much like natural beauty and lots of amazing documentaries and animated films are going to be playing. So, really looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to having you guys both out here, and I'm excited to screen your film. I think it's a very important film, especially for these times, and it's a great message. And we're really looking forward to have both of you. And I'm excited. Both of you are very young men, and I'm excited for the future and your future projects. So we're looking forward to having you guys out here.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right, so the American Documentary Animation Film Festival will be March 27th through 31st at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Tickets are available now, and we're looking forward. You're going to see a lot of great films, including You Will Not Replace Us with Josh and Luke. Thank you guys. Appreciate having you guys on here today.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you.